Friends, or maybe more. Earn a 20 quid free bet for every friend you refer to Paddy Power, thanks to our Friends with Benefits programme. Log into your Paddy Power account and share your referral link to get started. Terms and conditions apply. 18 plus. BeGambleAware.org.
Well, hello and a very warm welcome to the Racing Post Greyhound Derby Postcast. It's that time of the year. Fast and furious action. The Greyhound Derby, of course, got a new home at Nottingham. We're going to run through all the runners. Real Irish flavour to it this year, and we're in good company because Ian Fortune joins us, Irish correspondent for the Racing Post. How are you, Ian?
Good, yeah, very good. Looking forward to it. Really looking forward to this derby. More so than Toaster years, because I think you can really get your teeth into it, both as a punter and a supporter. I think there'll be no excuses on the track.
And Phil Donaldson from the Racing Post joins us. Phil, it's been a long time coming, this Nottingham derby, but here we are. Really
looking forward to it, as Ian said. Yeah, from the disappointment of losing Toaster, we've now got something new to look forward to, and it's shaping to be a magnificent event, Dave.
And also on the line from our friends at Paddy Power, we have a new face, a new voice as well to the Racing Post Postcast. Tom Liston. Tom, how are you?
How are we, folks?
Brilliant. And just quickly, Tom, what's your role at Paddy Power? Compiler, trader? What's your day today?
Yeah, look, a bit of everything. We're just currently leading up the Greyhound team at Paddy Power Betfair. It's the most exciting time of the year for us, and we're very much looking forward to the battle with the punters over the next few weeks.
Excellent stuff. Now, gentlemen, £100,000 to the winner. Phil, I've already mentioned a new home.
Yep. Nottingham.
What can we expect from Nottingham as a circuit?
Well, as a circuit, I think it's borne out in the fact that it's a very fair track. If you look back to last year, I think aside from Romford, Nottingham had the most open races in the UK. It was a track visited by most different trainers, most different greyhounds as well. So there is something to read into that straight away. A lot of people want to run their dogs at Nottingham. Geographically as well, it's well sited. And the actual track, to get back to your original question, is a good strong gallop, and it's got a long straight stave, and a lot of trainers will be pleased about that after the alternative that Toaster presented, the challenge last year. So I think a fair track, and we're going to see some fast runs.
Ian, would it be fair to say in the UK, possibly the nearest we've got to a Shelbourne Park?
Between here and Hove, you would have imagined the 5:15 in Hove was very similar to a Shelbourne Park type gallop too, but Nottingham, yeah, very much so. Two big long straights, wide corners. It's going to certainly not play into the hands of our dogs, but it's going to give them a chance to get to grips with it quicker, perhaps than some of the previous tracks that have held the derby.
And it is a real test. Do you think that's why we've seen an incredible number, over 40 Irish dogs entered up?
Yeah, I would say the ease of, as Phil said, locality. I think it's easy to get to. I think it's much easier to get to than in previous years, and it just so happens that the right men have the right dogs as well. Like the likes of Pat Buckley and Liam Dowling and Graham Holland and Peter Cronin. If they're coming with two or three, they might as well bring 5 or 6 or 7, and in Graham Holland's case, double digits. But they have some nice, promising dogs to bring along with their established performers. So a great mix of a team from Ireland, and hopefully we'll be bringing that trophy back home on June 30th, shall we say, the next day.
Tom, as a layer, Nottingham is a reputation of being a very fair track. How do you see it? You're obviously going to be compiling races, compiling the outright book, the Irish dogs coming over. What are your views on Nottingham and that 500 metres?
Yeah, look, it's a very fair track. From my point of view, I suppose the Irish dogs haven't really set the world alight yet in the trials, but I think the more familiarity they gain with the track, I can see them probably improving as the rounds go on. From a trading perspective, we think more than ever it's a wide open competition. We're best or joint best 6 of the top 7 in the market, and we're just going to be betting it for a Hail Mary result, to be honest.
And you yourself, are you favouring the early pace sorts, the stronger sorts, who are you trying to keep on side?
Yeah, we just picked a few dogs there: Clonbrine, Prince, Slippy, Keen. These are dogs we're trying to keep on side. The stronger running dogs probably it's a track that takes plenty of getting, so we'll be going for the stronger running dogs.
And Phil, a new home, but a new format as well for the derby this year. That 3 runs in a week, always the test of dog and trainer, is now gone, a thing of the past.
Well, absolutely, yeah. It was always one of those Marmite things, wasn't it? It was 8 days, wasn't it? Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday, and it did sort out the men from the boys. But it also in certain instances, it could be a cruel mistress, because it did take out some greyhounds who just couldn't stand up to that. Now, some will say, yeah, that was part of the Derby test, but Ian will argue the alternative, because now we've sort of gone to the Irish ideal, where you do get the break of a week between races. And I think probably it's time we had something fresh. So I've got no problem with it, and I think what it probably will do is you'll see the cream come to the top.
And as Phil mentioned, we now mirror the Irish Derby, one run a week. Do you think that makes a difference in terms of travelling plans as well? I mean, some of the Irish lads will travel over now because there's such a big gap between the rounds.
Yeah, maybe, perhaps, but I would have imagined if you're to get that far in the competition, you'd probably find yourself a base. I know that's the case with, let's say, Pat Guilfoyle or Liam Dowling. I think was planning perhaps to come over and back for the first 2 rounds. He's since changed his mind, but Pat Guilfoyle certainly suggested he'd come over for the first round, and if the dog qualified for the second round, he'd leave him over here. I feel there was no real choice but to get rid of the Tuesday. It's one thing doing it at Wimbledon and Toaster, where they never really get a chance to get to full stride. But just this is, like, it really is, it's 3 long straights, it's up the home straight, it's down the back straight and back up the home straight, and then you run to the escape. Like, it's a lot of racing over that grueling 500-metre trip, and I think the 3 runs would have been just too much. And in this day and age, we have to look at the welfare of the greyhound, as well as, the welfare of the punter. Because it's very important too.
What are the vibes from the Irish trainers that have come over, had a look at Nottingham, seen their dogs in action? Is it testing? Do they feel it's a demanding circuit?
As Liam Dowling said to me the other day before he trialled his first dogs, he said, I beg your pardon, Pat Guilfoyle said to me before he trialled Logan, he said, well, everyone that comes back is saying the same thing. It's going to suit a strong running 575, 600-yard dog that can lay up. I think that's the key. You can't be giving dogs 6 or 8 lengths around the opening 2 bends here and then hoping to pick them up. I think you need a strong running greyhound that has enough pace to lay up and touch wood, avoid traffic. And I think that, certainly is the case for about 3/4 of our team, which obviously works in our favour.
So the general feel is that perhaps a 600-yard dog is what is required?
Yeah, perhaps more it's not so much all about stamina in terms of when you mention 600 yards. It's more that it's a similar type of test to Shelburne, because it's the full length of the straight, and then a full length of the straight home as well. And I think you need a dog in Shelburne for the 600 yards, especially, that can go to a corner, that flies down the back, and then has the stamina to get to the winning line. And I think that's the key in Nottingham. You just need to have all the elements. The likes of Cabra Hurricane didn't come. It would have been pointless. I've no doubt he would have led any greyhound in the Derby 3 lengths at halfway. But from the last bend home, it would have been lights out. You'd have been carrying him off on a stretcher. It's not a 525-yard dogs track. It's very much a 550 stroke 575 600-yard dogs track. You're not going to get short runners winning this Derby, as far as I'm concerned, because the one night that they make any mistake, they will go back through the field like a stone through water.
Speed and stamina. Okay then, Tom, let's talk prices, and I'm sure a certain defending champion leads the way.
Yeah. So we're currently industry based 14 to 1 Dorota's Wildcat. It's 16s Droopy's Verve, 20 Lenson Blinder, 25 Skywalker Logan and Burgess Bucks, 20 JT Taylor, and 25 Magical Pale also.
And your book at the moment, as things stand, who are the bogeys? Who have you got on side, and who would be the worst result, I suppose?
Yeah, at this stage we've probably seen as good a British cat as I can remember in the book, with no real major headaches at this juncture. Dorota's Wildcat has been relatively friendless given his position in the market. That's why we took the decision to go 14s industry best this morning. Look, at punters obviously believe history is against him in attempting to go back to back. Topping the list of liabilities currently is Magical Bale. We laid him at fancier prices at the beginning of the year, and he's currently the worst result for the firm. JT Taylor has had plenty of fans, as had Skywalker Logan. Plenty of momentum behind Logan, and he's been the best back greyhound of the last week or so. We've gone 25 and 33. Look, he was impressive when winning the Cesarewitch at Mullingar in the hands of crack trainer Pat Guilfoyle. He's one that punters believe can go deep into the competition.
Well then, Ian, let's run through the Irish challenge, as it were. Although Wildcat heads the bet in, you look a little bit further down and it's Irish name after Irish name.
Yeah, you have obviously Wildcat and Verve at the head of the market, but then you're talking sort of 10 of the next 12, 14 names are very much planted in the Irish camp. We've got a very strong team. I'm not sure the market is right in terms of the order in which the Irish dogs arrive, but there is an awful lot, or there's not an awful lot genuinely between our top 20 greyhounds coming over. Like, there's dogs at 16, 18 to 1, that on any night you could see them being beaten by the 33, 40 to 1 chance that came from Shelbourne Park as well. I don't think there's a huge disparity. I just think they're a very, very strong group. I think Slippy Keane was perhaps, of the dogs that came over, perhaps the most consistent in Ireland last year, and I think he's the dog that could really take to the place. I would put the trial stick to the back of my mind. For me, the drift in the exchanges was a good sign, not a bad sign, because it gives you an excuse. Obviously, something was slightly askew. If you actually look back at the cold light of day a few days later, I don't think it was as bad as I first thought it was. I thought it looked flat. But if this dog gets it right, I've no doubt he's a 29-10 dog around Nottingham. And I think that's what you're going to need come June 29th. I think you're going to need a greyhound that can do a 29-10 from the front, even coming from second, third. He's a very strong running greyhound, but he has that bit of early speed and he has class.
If I may, can we sort of run through? Can you give us a quick line on each one? Maybe running style, where you'd like to, you think they should be boxed up. Lengths and blinder, let's start with.
Very fast greyhound, powerful. Did a massive sprint trial at the start of the year to suggest he was as good as ever. Funnily enough, has actually been found out over the longer run to the corner in the 600, where he was beaten by Clonbrien Prince, but he's a dog with immense pace. He does tend to, he swings off his backside at the first corner. I think he almost does it. It's more exaggerated when there are dogs on his immediate outside. I think he's a real race dog. I think he knows what he wants to do. He wants to get around that corner in front, and he'll do anything he has to do it. I think if he gets in front, there's not a greyhound in training to pick him up. That
would be my only concern with him, his early pace. Do you think he can go with the likes of Wildcat to the corner? Probably not. He would probably, ideally, if you were to back Lens and Blinder against Wildcat in the race, you'd like to see him turning 2 lengths second. And that's probably the best he could hope for off a level start. Okay, Tom mentioned Springer in the market, recent Cesarewitch winner, Skywalker Logan. Good trial. Yeah, immensely fast, probably the fastest greyhound in training in Ireland last year. Frustrating, I would say, to back. Probably a dog we thought had no real distance, didn't seem to have the early for the 525, 550. Until once or twice he sort of surprised you. He took a flyer from traps, got around the corner in good company, and you go, where was that early last week? A frustrating dog to follow, but an engine like no other. He was the fastest dog over 525 yards in Shelbourne Park last year, and he's won over, well, he's certainly raced over 750 yards. I don't think he's quite won yet, but he went close against good 750 yard dogs. So he's the speed to do sub 28, and he stays 750 doing like 41.70, which would be a serious clock. So a hard dog to keep out the frame. Massively powerful greyhound. If he avoids traffic problems in the corner, he's one of those dogs where like it'd be no surprise to see him sort of favourite to win a quarter final. You know, that sort of way, and then you're hoping for a bit of luck. Very much an unknown quantity. Burgess Bucks. What do we know about him? He was, I'm going to say, unlucky in the Juvenile Classic final. He led. He should have won. Something strange happened off the last bend. He started drifting around. In the end, the dog came across him. He hit the deck. It was a disaster of a race to look at. It was a catastrophe. If you were certainly on Burgess Bucks or have connected to him, he's a greyhound with a lot of pace. He ran in Shelbourne Park in a 575 not too long ago. Checked up at the first bend and checked a little bit up the home straight. Just looked green. Definitely the penny has to fully drop, but no question he has pace. And the way Pat Buckley's talking, I would say there's been work in this dog. Well, I was going to interject there and say, when I spoke to Pat about a week or so ago, or before his trial, when he was bringing the team over, and I said anything to watch out for, and that was the one dog he wanted to talk about. So he thinks a lot of the dog. Desperate to win it, Phil, isn't he? Comes over every year. Yeah. He's gone close, Pat, and he's got the team this year to give it another good shot, that's for sure. Had an even money favoured in the final, or even odds-on favoured in the final, with Mind the Net a few years back. And last year, without question, Borna Gin was probably the unluckiest greyhound in any Derby semi-final in history. He looked an absolute certainty to win his heat, never mind qualify. Did he not have 2 finalists one year at Wimbledon? He may well have done in the same year as Mind the Net, perhaps. Yeah, I went and visited him. Yeah, he definitely, it definitely owes him something. He's won an Irish, he's won a Scottish. He'd love to fill the frame. 2 more. Go on. Clonbrien Prince. Yeah, he was a dog where last year, by Derby time, he wasn't the finished article. He was starting to really develop. There was a flash here and a flash there. Later in the year, he went to the Ledger, ran very well through that. And then this year, he looks a lot more polished, a lot more professional, a lot more. What would be his running style? He's everything.
Like he fills all criteria. He absolutely rocketed to the bend over 600 yards. Didn't like. When I say doesn't get the 600 yards, he stayed well enough to win the Gain 600, the old Guinness 600, one of the most famous events on the calendar. So, like he's certainly going to get the 500 metres in Nottingham well. I was nearly going to pick him as my choice, but I went elsewhere. But yeah, Clonbrine Prince is a proper greyhound.
And final one from a kennel that very much know what it takes to win an English derby, JT Taylor. Yeah,
JT Taylor is being campaigned very much in the same manner that JT Jet was. He's going to be kept for the big competitions, the 2 derbies and an Easter Cup. And you may not see him outside of those 3 competitions, perhaps a Night of Stars or something like that. He's a dog that was raw, getting to last year's derby final in Shelbourne Park. He was only a handful of races before he went into it. He was still a puppy, prior to the quarterfinals. He was a September whelp, so by the time the final came, he was 2 years of age. But he's a dog with a dog that was disputing, favouritism in the derby final, and yet you could say there's a few lengths left in this fella for next year. That's the worrying thing about it. For
very lightly raced, isn't it?
Yeah, the problem is we just haven't seen him. We don't know how good he is, but I know he trialled very well, and Paul said to me, he said he'll improve greatly for the run. Brilliant.
Right there, the Irish Challenge directly below the UK duo, heading the betting, Phil. I mean, we've got to talk Wildcat, defending champion. And you could argue at a track that he's even better at than Toaster, where he of course won the Derby.
He's thrived at Nottingham in the past. I think when it was maybe the possibility of Nottingham or Central Park, I think from Kevin Hutton's point of view, Nottingham was the winner all day long because Wildcat will be so happy there. He hasn't had the greatest start to the year, as we know. He's been beaten a couple of times. He's picked up a little niggle as well along the way, but Kevin gave him a clean bill of health a few weeks ago, and the trials he's been putting in show you he's right where he needs to be.
Faster than anything else twice.
Exactly. I mean, he is just an incredible dog. I was fortunate enough to go down to the kennels this year and visit him, and he is the apple of their eye at the kennels, Kevin and Donna and all the team there. And he's got that aura about him. He is a Derby champion, and he exudes that. So he is a worthy favourite in my book. But obviously there's a strong challenge from Ian's quarters coming over to try and take it off him.
I was saying to Dave before we started filming about him, you can go around each of the greyhound, pick holes, and the only hole you can actually pick in the road as Wildcat is he's 4 years of age. But that's not a hole, that's just a stat, that's just a number. His trials was just as good as ever. And as you say, there's something about Nottingham that really suits him, be it the fact that the traps are way up in the corner, that it's nice and quiet up there, but he never seems to miss it in Nottingham. The mistakes he's made in other tracks just don't seem to happen at Nottingham, and oh God, he just loves that run to the corner.
Yeah, and I know we talked about it ad infinitum, but what a litter that was. The Ballymac Vic, Troopers Denil, May 15 litter. I think there's the brothers in the Derby as well, isn't he? Still Woohoo. So there's still got there's two greyhounds still in the Derby, and one's won an English, one's won the Scottish Derby. It was superb breeding.
Next in the betting, and who chased him home last year, Angela Harrison's Droopy's Verve. Phil, what are your thoughts on him?
I think he's an awesome greyhound. He can very easily win a derby. He's fast enough, no doubt about it. I'm just never quite sure where he wants to be drawn. And I know he's got a great record in certain boxes, but whenever I see Vervin, I'm never quite sure what's going to happen. But if he goes, a bit like some of the greyhounds Ian's been talking about for mine, if he goes round unscathed in any race, he's not out the first 3, and he wins most of them. So, I would write him off at your peril. And I think he's a dog that deserves something like this. He's been thereabouts in every major competition he's been in, more or less.
My only concern with him is, has he still got that dazzling early? I mean, he popped out and made all in the Dundalk International. He almost went to the corner with Wildcat at Toaster. From what I've seen of him recently at Shawfield and prior to that, I'm not sure he's got the sparkle to the corner in which he can turn on the coattails of the leaders.
Well, that may be the case, although I'm sure Jimmy Wright will argue differently, because he really he gets very passionate when he talks about Droopy's.
Well, he's a champion, isn't he?
Let's absolutely. Have it right.
He was exceptional first round of the Irish Derby last year, and something went wrong. I think he got actually after the hair. He did a second circuit, and I think that just ruined his chances. But he's a real Shelbourne Park greyhound, but perhaps not the early he's gone. I think when he does hit the lids, I still think he has the pace to lie up with the best of them.
And that will be where he'll win his races or go through. by if not leading, turning handy. It could be that one race that catches him out like that. That's the only thing with Droopy's Verve.
And I'll bring Tom in on this as well. Your views on Droopy's Verve, second in?
Yeah, look, he's a dog we're happy enough to take on at this stage. We're kind of probably favouring the Irish dogs, so Wildcat and Verve are two that will be probably best priced throughout the competition.
Okay, brilliant. Well, we've covered the first sort of 10 or so in the betting. We're going to head for a break and come back and tackle the first round heats with everyone's nap of that round.
Right, 10 seconds to promote Paddy Power Games. Paddy Power Games, Paddy Power Games, Paddy Power Games. Advertising. It's easy when you know how. Paddy Power. Enough of the nonsense. 18 plus, begambleaware.org.
Well, welcome back to the Racing Post Greyhound Derby Postcast. We've tackled the outright book, or the leading contenders there from both the UK and Ireland. We're now going to have a little look at the first round, Friday and Saturday this week. All the action, of course, live on Racing Post Greyhound TV. You can, in fact, watch the whole Greyhound Derby live on RPG TV. I'll let you kick us off, Phil. Then we've got 32 heats to choose from. Who is your best bet of the first round?
Well, yeah, there's some greyhounds that you really want to get stuck into throughout the round. There was three that I was toying with, Dave. I'll briefly mention two of them. I'm a big fan of Droopy's Davies makeup in Heat 9. I think he can roll back the clock and deliver from trap 6. We've mentioned Droopy's Verve. I like Droopy's Expert, who goes in Heat 15. But my absolute banker, and some will agree, some won't, but as a greyhound Tom mentioned earlier, as a liability, is Magical Bale, who goes in Heat 26, Trap 1, Kevin Hutton's greyhound. He's around the even money mark, so not too tight with the odds, because you've got King Dylan in there, and Gilo Blissful maybe keeping the price a bit honest. He is a greyhound I'm going to be talking about later as one of my selections. I think he's got that bit of class about him. Irish Derby finalist last year. I know he's had a few niggles, he's had a few issues. He found trouble in Ireland recently, but he's got class for me. He's got that stamp of a greyhound who could win a Derby, and I like his makeup. I know Kevin Hutton's pleased with the progress of him. I think in terms of a bet for the first round, I think he will win.
And he can handle that red box as well at Nottingham. Ian, what catches you on the first round for you?
Well, you used the term best bet. For a bit of value, I've actually gone with Slippy Keane in the red hot heat. I'm going to completely dismiss his opening or his trial stick defeat, and I just think I'm going to take on Droopy's Verve with Slippy Keane in around the 3-1 mark. If he got bigger on the night, that'd do me. I was tempted with Ballymactaz. If she cleared Swift Jim at traps, this one is just made for Nottingham. Like, she has power and pace. Like, her runs over 600 yards in Shelburne Park were phenomenal as a raw youngster, and she will be absolutely suited down to the ground by the place. I'm taking on JT Taylor there with Ballymactaz, but that's just she's close to the fence and she has a bit more racing done in recent times than JT Taylor. I agree with Phil regards Magical Bale. He's actually the only dog I've backed outright thus far. I got the right price earlier in the year, and happy enough with his makeup in the opening round if he hits the lids. I thought he was very big. I saw the split markets the other day. I thought he was very big price. He's a dog that can rocket to a bend. 550 yards in Shelburne now would be the limit of his stamina, so that'd be my concern if he didn't hit the front one night, but I think it's going to be very hard to lead him. And
just quickly, just to clarify, he's one of ours, Magical Bale. He obviously was with Pat Guilfoyle, ran to the final of the Irish Derby, but he's now home with Kevin Hutton, his UK train. As
I said, lads, I've backed him, and if he happens to win, I couldn't care if he's from Swaziland, from Australia, wherever. I'll be happy.
Well, he's a big player. I'm going to chuck out Raise the Stakes in heat number 4 from trap 4. I think can clear the inside. Bag a lead. Surprised around about 3-1 poke there. I think that's a wide open heat, but a good draw. Tom, what about yourself? What's your best bet of the first round?
So our trading team's nap of the first round goes in heat 15 in the form of Droopy's Expert. Early quotes of odds against look particularly generous here. Aquilwari can be a bit hit and miss at the boxes and just lacks that bit of early. Swan Style probably hasn't been doing any favours with the trap draw, probably housed the wrong side of Expert. 1, 5 and 6 all look to have a bit to find, and I can see the Expert going from trap to line here.
Okay, vote for Droopy's Expert there. Now I'm sure you've been hard at work, Tom, through all 32 heats. Is there a favourite that you feel's vulnerable, one that you're definitely going to try and take on?
Yeah, funny enough, Droopy's Biker in Heat 3 looks plenty short at like early shouts of 6-5 and 5-4. Look, we stuck our neck out, so we've going to stand out 13-8 and probably intend to remain best up to the off. Look, he's undoubtedly a very fast greyhound, but he'll have to do everything right to win here. Droopy's Trapper is likely to cause him plenty of problems in the run-up, and Volcano Reef and Meet Me aren't exactly slouches, so look, we'll be taking our chances here. Funnily enough, Dorota's Wildcat is one that we're probably going to take our chances with as well. Look, it's going to take winning that heat like 4-6. Look, it looks on the short side at the moment, and anything 4-6, 4-5, we'll be definitely looking to oppose.
And I'm going to put you on the spot, Tom, just off the top of your head. Who's your shortest price favourite in the heats?
I'm not entirely sure. I'll get back to you.
Holland too. Is it Clonbrine, Prince or Lenson?
Early on?
It'll probably be Clonbrine Prince. We'll be keeping him on side, definitely.
I'm sure there'll be plenty of punters out there perming those up. You've very much stolen my thunder because I'm against Droopy's Biker as well. I think that's a horrible heat for him to try and clear around at the corner, which I think he needs to do to win that. Gentlemen, anything you want to be against, Ian, Phil?
Well, I'm going to say it very quietly, but I'm glad Tom already said it a bit louder. But I think Drota's Wildcat, I can't see him getting knocked out, but I think it's a hellish draw because, yes, he can pace and lead to the bend, but he's got a 37-plus kilo dog on his inside in Wolf, who railed well in his trial, put a 29.65 on the board and is only going to improve. And you've got Brinkley's Poet in 3, who's class all day long, and he's showing fantastic early pace and seems to have come back to himself. So Wildcat's got to do it all right to lead and win. He probably will, but if I was sitting here in the RPG TV studio on the night, and he could well be my lay of the day at 4-7, something like that, because I don't think it's a value bet.
If Wolf was a consistent starter, he'd be nearly my selection.
Yeah.
He's an exceptional greyhound. He's exceptional. He is as fast as any greyhound we clocked down the back straight in Sheldon Park last year, and he can rock it to a bend. Problem is that first 5 strides. Of the other dogs I'd like to take on, I'm not saying I'd take on Drota's, because if he got a length at Wolf at traps, which he's very likely to do, you know, as fast as Wolf is, he's going to struggle to pick up the Wildcat. I may take on Droopy's Expert. Aklwari looked a strong running greyhound in his early days. He's actually going up a lot faster than he did back in the day, and I think he could really put it up to Droopy's Expert, and I agree with Droopy's Biker. I would definitely take him on, especially considering the early pace on his inside in 5, but then you have a couple of really pacey types on the inside, like that Meet Me. I know he does strange things in the corners, but if you've ever got loose, he's a serious engine, and Volcanic Reef is capable on his day. So Droopy's Biker, he's one of those dogs where he's powerful everywhere, but just does lack that yard early, and change of kennel and a different scenario. Yeah, I'd be willing to take him on if he was short.
It's almost 3 votes for Biker there, so that was maybe the one to get after in the first round. Right, I'm going to come to you, Tom. Greyhound Derby time. All the firms have loads of weird and wacky markets, lots of specials. Take it away. I suppose we should start really with the big one, UK versus Ireland.
Yeah, look, it might be blind patriotism from the Irish punting fraternity, but an Irish trained winner of the Derby at Evans has been the most heavily supported by far of our specials market. Look at a big team from Graham Holland, lots of entries from Buckley, Hennessy and Dowling. Probably we're going over with hopes as high as ever, and that looks to be reflected in the betting. The other interesting specials market, we saw plenty of cash for we priced up the winning seed. Look, initial show of 10 to 11, the inside runners was chopped up pretty quickly. The way the cash now is forced is to 4-6. Look, I suppose there's something of a perception out there that the inside runners will be advantaged, and the punters have probably latched onto this. Other markets, so an interesting one, we got 50-1 that Dorota's Wildcat goes unbeaten. Bits and pieces of smalls taking interest here from the internal optimists, I suppose you could say. It's 10-1 any dog goes unbeaten, and 16-1 that an Irish trained dog goes unbeaten. We've also priced top Irish Greyhound, the top bitch, the top trainer. So look, there's something in there for everyone.
Have you priced up the clock to go, the track record to go?
Yep. So track record to go is 11-10.
I know the sponsors at a very early stage went 5-2, and that was filled in very, very quickly. Do we feel that 10-11's nearer the mark?
Yeah, I think you could chop another half point off it. I think it's a 2-1 chance, to be honest.
Well,
it's absolutely certain to go.
If the clock's 29.16, you've already talked about one dog being a 29.10 dog round there, so you're obviously pretty.
As I said to Kevin Hutton, we did a preview a couple of weeks back. I said if the Wildcat's doing 29.22 3 weeks before the Derby, and he's not fully tuned, on a good track, what's he going to do himself? And then you take all the 600 and 575 and 550 yard greyhounds from Ireland that are. Like, these are seriously fast greyhounds. If they get on the bunny, it could go. The clock could go. Yeah. Okay, if some dog doesn't get loose and take a chop off it, I wouldn't be surprised if the clock just drop.
Well, there's 2 ways of looking, isn't there? Obviously that has stood since 2012, so it's clearly a strong clock. But obviously, and Nottingham have a lot of open racing, but they've never had a Derby before. Yeah. So yes, they've had select stakes and eclipses, but this is the acid test. You're bringing, as you say, the cream of the cream are coming to Nottingham, and it's likely to be vulnerable. Sawpit sensation. He's stood there since 2012.
Dog that came for the Irish Derby. Very sporting connections.
Dave Hunt,
Fast greyhound. But I think we have a few faster ones coming over.
I just feel that, as we saw with Tyra Shea at Toaster, one of these 600-yard dogs is going to just find the magical break, be off the front, and then just post something silly on the board.
Yeah, no question. Granted, if I took the 11 to 10 and it was still standing by the third round, I'd be getting a bit nervy, because at that stage things start to get tighter, and not as many dogs will be getting off the front that can do the clock. Is what I'm saying. A few of the speeds are still there. They might just be holding up dogs, but yeah, I think the clock will go. I think that's an absolute certainty to go.
And Tom, always a popular market is Top Bitch. If you priced that one up, can you give us a show on that?
Yeah, so Top Bitch heading the market there is Queen Beyonce 7-2, Ballymactaz at 4, Gilo Blissful 13-2, and II Penalty at 8-1. Quarter the odds, first 3 are the each way terms on that one.
Brilliant. I'll come to you first, Ian, because Ballymactaz very much an interesting runner.
Yeah, I think she's as fast as anything in the competition, so she was definitely one of mine at 4-1 there. I think barring bad luck, I think she'll go relatively deep into the competition. She's immensely fast and powerful, which is the key.
Phil, any view there?
Well, from the home fraternity, II Penalty, of course, made the semis last year. A bit of an enigma of Greyhound, but very hard to eliminate from a competition.
I backed her Top Bitch last year.
I think it's fair to say she doesn't win as many races as she should.
Absolutely, hence the fact that she was in the maiden derby at Henlow recently. And
she also seems to insist on passing on the outside.
Yeah, there's lots of quirks about her, no doubt about it, but she's fast and she's strong. I think Arthur Noodle at 12s might be a little bit of an each way play there.
Favourite for the Puppy Classic final?
Yeah, loves Nottingham, got early pace. Now carries a middle seed, I think, didn't always, but maybe suited by that, by avoiding some sticky draws.
Okay, brilliant. And Tom, just quickly, of all the specials, I mean, you mentioned the Irish Train winner was a knockover. Anything else, any interest in money for anywhere?
Yeah, look at the winning trainer market has all been about Graham Holland. Numerically he's got a very strong hand. He's heading up that market at 3-1, and he's the main one in that market. Okay,
well, before we get the outright picks, I want to just quickly talk Graham Holland, because of all the big kennels, he was the first one over trial. So he means business this year.
Yeah, it's funny. I got the impression last year that he wasn't mad about a challenge, but this year I think his mind was nearly made up for him that he had such a good kennel of dogs, and such a kennel of dogs that would be so suited to this place, that he just had to come. And once he was coming, he said, well, let's load up the van, let's bring what we can. And there's very few of his greyhounds you can rule out. There's every single one of them will win open races on a Saturday night in Shelburne Park, and that'd be good enough to win, plenty of derby heats. And all of a sudden you're talking, if let's say 8 or 9 of them got through to the next round, you're just hoping for that bit of luck. It wouldn't surprise me if he had 3 or 4 quarterfinalists or 4 or 5 quarterfinalists. He just has the strength and depth is just frightening, because even as the stronger team he brought here, he had 4 winners in the Produce Stakes the other night in Clonmel, and they look like potential superstars. He just has a conveyor belt at the moment. He just has so many fast greyhounds there, and like 3-1 wouldn't interest me, purely because it's not the type of market I'd be getting into. But
a worthy favourite,
absolutely, without question. Like his 10th choice in the team is as good as some of the first choices. That's
real powerful kennel, one to look out for. Graham Holland on the race card. Right then, gentlemen, let's get down to business. Let's show our hand, who we fancy in the outright book. And Phil Donaldson, you have the floor.
Okay. Well, 192 dogs to start with. There's a lot you want to be with at this stage. I've already mentioned I'm strong on Magical Bow. Like Ian, I backed him earlier in the year when he was just the wraps were coming off him in Ireland, and he's now around a 25-1 chance. Yes, he got knocked over. I think it was Easter Cup semis, and they felt their way back with him. But as I mentioned earlier, I think he is a proper competition dog, a proper classic competition dog. He's got that aura about him. What he did in Ireland to make the Irish Derby final, what he did at Toaster when he won the ECC Timber Puppy Derby. Everything he does has got a bit of class. So for me, if he continues to progress in the way he has been in his trials, and produces those race performances, I think he'll go very close this year. I've backed. Ian's been talking about the Irish Greyhounds. It's fascinating to hear them. I backed one which probably wouldn't be on his shortlist, Boyle Sport Extra, just because I thought he was too big. Speaking to Paul Hennessy, he was a greyhound. He couldn't quite understand how he didn't qualify in Shawfield when he was leading in the semi. He thought something happened, whether the dog got distracted. He wasn't sure, but he just thought he left that competition disappointed.
It was notable that he moved off the fence, and he never moves off the fence. He's the tightest railer we have in the country. He's a flying starter, and he motors on the back. My concern is just the run-in.
The trip may be too much for him, but I've had a nibble around 80 to 1. I think he's 66. Could be you will get a dog in the final who doesn't really suit Nottingham. You'll get an early pace greyhound that keeps slipping through and just keeps breaking, and I'm hoping it's him. And throwing one in at a massive price, in 3-figure prices, I've gone with Savannah Volt for Diane Henry, who's completely unexposed, got a handful of races on his card.
Couldn't be a more different running style either than what you just mentioned.
He hasn't got any early yet. But Diane said she's still learning about the dog. I spoke to her about him. He's powerful from the back straight onwards. He absolutely flies. I think he'd be a 29:30 stop the clock out in the trial. He's a young dog with nothing on his card. Diane's got a history. She's got greyhounds to the Derby final before. I think remember making paper.
Yeah, of course.
It was in Rio Quattro's final. She has a very small team. It's very hands-on, very one-to-one with the dogs. I thought he might just be a sporting each way bet to keep qualifying.
Brilliant. Mr. Fortune, surely an Irish trained one we're going for.
We're going for 3 Irish trained ones. I'm going for Slippy Keane as my first choice. I think he was almost a complete greyhound last year, and I think with a little bit of experience under his belt and that winter break and whatnot, I think he can come back a better dog. Ignored the trial stake, the drift in the market said it all. He's around the 25 to 1 chance. He was 14 to 1 actually with the specials to be top Irish trained greyhound. That's the price he should be to win the stake. Not to be top Irish trained greyhound. Ballymac Taz, I thought the 4 to 1 best top bitch was an eye catcher, but she was a big price to win it out as well. Like she's so fast. I mean,
can a bitch win it?
Listen, we're saying it's going more and more like Shelburne Park. A few bitches won in Shelburne Park, the Derby. We're going back a few years, but some really brilliant bitches like Satine Marina, Springtime. With the other toss, it can be done, especially in a place like this where you get a bitch that runs into form, anything can happen. Yep. And a third one at a big price, and this is really more of the qualifying types. I'm of the opinion that the dogs that drop themselves out and come racing through may struggle in this Derby compared to others because they're not going to be coming back as quick. The calibre of dog we have in front here, but one that fits the bill from Ireland of that type, for all I say it, I'm going to stick in Panther at a big price. I think he's 66 to 1 or 80 to 1 or something like that. Frustrating to follow, wants the rails, has his own way about doing things, checks up at times when he shouldn't be checking up, but he does some running home. And just Hennessy has had 1 or 2 of that type go deep into the Derby in the past. And listen, I wouldn't be backing him to win it, but the each way money would really tempt me. Panther.
Keep qualifying very strong. So I'm going to be with another one from the Hennessy camp, JT Taylor. Incredible parallels you can draw between JT Jet and JT Taylor and JT Jet. I think he fits the bill, very lightly raced. Bocco's Doomy for Patrick Janssens, a young talent, could be absolutely anything. I think he's drawn a soft heat. And a dog that I think is going to be hard to keep out the frame is King Lennon. They're our views. Tom on the line from Paddy Power. Who are you going to put up for us, Tom?
Yeah, so my vote in the outright goes to the Graham Holland trained Clonbrine Prince. An admirable performer that rarely runs a bad race. He's a dog with enough pace to clock 18.57 in a trial for the sprint distance around Shelburne, 28.10 for the 5.25, but also showed an abundance of stamina by winning the recent Gain 600, beating the likes of Lentz and Blinder and Skywalker Logan in the final. Look, this is a real top draw performer, and I can see him giving Graham Holland his first English Derby victory. We're currently well on side at 16s with as big as 28 out there. For an outsider, I'm going to plumb for another Graham Holland trained runner in Wolf. This strapping 80-pound son of Tyro Big Mike has really found his feet over the last number of months at Shelburne Park. Like his performance in dispatching subsequent Scottish Derby victor Braveheart Bobby at the Rings End venue a couple of weeks back really marked his arrival on the big stage. A strong running type, he looks to have been trained very much with this competition in mind, and with the likelihood of further improvement forthcoming, I think Wolf can definitely outrun odds at as big as 40 to 1 out there.
Brilliant, excellent. Thank you for your time and expertise, Tom, and best of luck over the next 6 weeks. Though I do hope that Paddy has his pants down by the punters in this year's Greyhound Derby. Phil and Ian, thank you for your time and expertise. Guys, remember you can watch all the action live on Racing Post Greyhound TV. You will not miss a single race live on the channel. Do of course rate, review and subscribe to Racing Post TV. Until next time, goodbye.
Here at Paddy Power, we're the home of the Money Back Special, with some incredible offers every single week. Check out the website or app today. Terms and conditions apply. 18+, begambleaware.org.